Most gardeners spend money on fertilizers, pesticides, and soil amendments every single season, and still wonder why their harvests aren't as big as they'd like. Here's the thing. The answer might not be in a bag or a bottle. It might be sitting right next to your tomatoes. Nature has a built-in system where certain plants actively help each other grow, repelling pests, fixing nutrients into the soil, attracting beneficial insects, and even improving the flavor of neighboring crops. You don't need to buy anything extra. You just need to know which plants belong next to each other. Today we're breaking down 5 vegetable pairings that genuinely deliver results, backed by science, confirmed by generations of real gardeners, and completely free to implement. If you're the kind of person who wants to grow more with less effort, you're in exactly the right place. Consider subscribing to Grow Bountiful so you never miss content like this. It goes a long way in supporting the channel. Let's get into it. Carrots and onions, 2 root crops that protect each other from the ground up. This pairing has been used for centuries, but it doesn't get nearly as much attention as, say, tomatoes and basil. That's a shame because what these 2 crops do for each other is remarkably precise and reliable. The carrot fly is one of the most damaging pests for root vegetables. It lays its eggs in the soil near carrot roots, and the larvae burrow straight into the carrot itself, tunneling through the flesh and making it completely unusable. The onion fly operates the same way, targeting onion bulbs instead. These 2 pests represent serious problems for gardeners who grow either crop in isolation. Here's what makes this pairing so effective. Carrot flies navigate by scent to locate their host plants. So do onion flies. When you plant carrots and onions in alternating rows, each plant's scent masks the other. The carrot fly can't isolate the smell of carrots because onions are saturating the surrounding air with a far more dominant odor. The onion fly has the same problem in reverse. Neither pest can get its bearings well enough to identify a reliable laying site, so infestation rates drop significantly. This isn't theoretical. It's a demonstrated effect that's been studied in field conditions. No chemical sprays, no physical barriers, just the natural aromatics of 2 common vegetables disrupting the pest detection systems of their respective enemies. Set up the bed in alternating rows. A row of onions, then a row of carrots, then onions again. Keep the rows close enough that the scents overlap across the entire bed. With that layout, neither pest population can establish itself with any consistency. Root depth plays into this pairing as well. Onions are relatively shallow-rooted, drawing nutrients from the upper soil layer. Carrots grow long and deep, accessing nutrients further down. They don't compete for the same resources because they're working different parts of the soil profile. Both crops can grow full size without restricting each other. There's also a subtle soil benefit. As onion roots develop, they loosen and aerate the topsoil around them. Better aeration in that upper layer encourages more uniform carrot development. Carrots grown in well-aerated soil tend to be straighter and more evenly shaped, which matters if you're selling or storing them. Both crops prefer similar conditions. They need loose, well-structured soil that drains well, open and sunny positions, and moderate watering, without any tendency toward waterlogging. Their care schedules are effectively identical, which makes managing a mixed bed straightforward. You're not juggling 2 different watering regimes or worrying about one crop shading the other. One final practical detail. After you harvest your onions, don't rush to clear the bed. Dry the leftover skins and scatter them along the pathways between the remaining carrot rows. Onion compounds linger for weeks and continue to disorient carrot flies even after the living plants are gone. Cucumbers and dill, an insect ecosystem in one bed. Cucumbers and dill operate on a different logic than the other pairings on this list. The benefit here isn't primarily about nutrient exchange or scent-based pest confusion. It's about building a functional insect ecosystem directly around your cucumber plants. Dill, once it flowers, becomes one of the most insect-active plants in any garden. The flat-topped yellow flower clusters attract an enormous variety of insects, far more than most flowering herbs. Among them are bees and bumblebees, which cucumbers desperately need for pollination. But more importantly, flowering dill draws in predatory insects, parasitic wasps, ground beetles, assassin bugs, and hoverflies. These are the insects that feed on the pests that target cucumbers. Aphids are among the worst cucumber enemies. They multiply fast, cluster on young shoots and undersides of leaves, drain the plant's resources, and spread viral diseases that can kill entire plants within weeks. Predatory insects, particularly parasitic wasps, are far more effective at controlling aphid populations than most spray treatments, and dill calls those predators into the area. When dill is flowering next to your cucumber bed, you're essentially providing a landing zone and food source for the insects doing your pest control work. There's a timing consideration to keep in mind. Young dill growing alongside young cucumbers is an excellent arrangement. The problem comes when dill matures and begins going to seed. A large, fully mature dill plant growing immediately beside cucumbers can begin to suppress them slightly, likely through root competition or allelopathic compounds. The fix is simple. Don't plant dill directly inside the cucumber bed. Place it along the edges or leave a small gap between the dill and the nearest cucumber plant. That spacing lets you capture all the insect-attracting benefits without the suppressive effect of a mature plant in close contact. Pay attention to the vertical structure of the bed. Cucumbers trained up a trellis grow vertically, and their foliage sits above the soil. Dill grows upright, but stays relatively compact. If you're running a trellised cucumber setup, plant dill on the south-facing side of the bed, so it receives full sun without being shaded by the trellis or the cucumber canopy. Both plants get what they need light-wise, and the dill positions itself where its flowers are most accessible to flying insects. Dill also contributes to soil health through root secretions that appear to support beneficial microbial activity. Healthy soil microbiology means stronger root systems, better nutrient absorption, and plants that are more naturally resistant to disease pressure. These effects are quieter and harder to see directly, but they contribute to overall plant health across the season. For greenhouse growers, this combination carries even more weight. Closed greenhouse environments have limited natural insect populations, and pests spread rapidly without predators to check them. Even 2 or 3 dill plants placed near a greenhouse entrance or inside along the perimeter can meaningfully reduce aphid and mite pressure by drawing in the insects that manage those populations. Cabbage and celery, fragrant defense for a pest-prone crop. Cabbage is one of the most pest-attractive crops you can grow. The list of insects that target it is long: cabbage, white, butterflies, cabbage flies, aphids, flea beetles, cutworms, and more. Managing cabbage without any chemical intervention is one of the more demanding tasks in a vegetable garden. Celery makes it considerably easier. The key is celery's scent. Both the above-ground parts and the roots of celery release strong, distinctive aromatic compounds. These compounds function as a repellent against a broad range of cabbage pests, and they do it in the same fundamental way that onion scent disrupts carrot flies, by masking the aromatic cues that pests use to locate their host plant. The cabbage white butterfly is one of the most damaging offenders. The adult butterfly locates cabbage by following the volatile compounds that cruciferous plants release. Once it finds the plant, it lays eggs on the leaves, and the resulting caterpillars chew through the foliage systematically, leaving the leaves damaged and the plant visibly stressed. The butterfly's detection system can't override the overpowering scent of nearby celery. It registers the wrong olfactory signals, gets disoriented, and frequently moves on in search of a cleaner target. Flea beetles, which create dozens of small holes across cabbage leaves and significantly reduce the crop's quality and marketability, respond similarly. The celery scent confuses their host location process and deters them from settling on the nearby brassicas. You don't need to crowd celery in among your cabbage plants to get this effect. Space a few celery plants around the perimeter of the cabbage bed, or position one between every 1 or 2 cabbage heads throughout the patch. A loose arrangement like this creates a fragrant ring around the entire growing area. The protective barrier doesn't require tight spacing, it requires coverage. There is one management consideration. Celery prefers consistently moist soil, and cabbage does better with slightly drier conditions. This difference is manageable. Plant your celery a little deeper than you normally might, and apply a generous layer of mulch around each celery plant to retain moisture right in the root zone, without keeping the broader bed too wet for the cabbage. It's a small adjustment that makes the mixed bed comfortable for both crops. Both plants are well suited to open, sunny garden positions and perform best in temperate conditions without intense, sustained heat. During summer heat waves, the broad celery leaves shade the surrounding soil, which reduces evaporation and slows weed establishment between plants. It's a secondary benefit that doesn't require any extra work on your part. After harvest, don't remove all of the celery residue immediately. When you work spent celery plants into the soil at the end of the season, they release compounds that suppress certain soil-borne pathogens, including some of the organisms responsible for cabbage wilt, a disease that can devastate plantings year after year. Regular celery and cabbage rotation through the same bed gradually improves the disease resistance of the soil itself. You're not just protecting this season's crop, you're making next season's conditions better. What all 5 of these pairings have in common is actually pretty straightforward. Every pair on this list operates on the same underlying principle. In nature, plants don't grow in isolation. They grow within communities, and those communities develop over time in ways that benefit the strongest participants. Some plants fix nutrients, some repel pests, some attract the insects that control other pests, some modify the microclimate. All of these interactions are already happening in wild plant communities, and companion planting is simply the deliberate application of that same logic in your garden. The remarkable thing about all 5 of these pairings is that they cost nothing beyond what you're likely already spending. You're probably growing tomatoes, cucumbers, cabbage, carrots, and corn. You may already grow basil, onions, dill, celery, and beans. The only variable is arrangement, a different layout in the same garden with the same plants, producing measurably better results without additional fertilizer, pesticide, or labor. That's not a gimmick. It's ecology applied practically. Start with 1 pairing this season. Pick the combination that matches the crops you're already planning to grow. Observe how it performs. You'll almost certainly notice the difference. Fewer pests, stronger plants, and a harvest that reflects the health of a balanced, thoughtfully arranged bed. Once you see it working, expanding to more pairings in future seasons becomes a natural next step. Your garden is a living system, and the more variety and interconnection you build into it, the more resilient and productive it becomes. The most successful gardeners aren't necessarily the ones with the biggest budgets or the most products. They're the ones who understand that everything in a good garden is connected, and that working with those connections rather than against them is where the real results come from. If this was useful to you, please share it with a fellow gardener who could put it to use. And if you haven't yet joined the Grow Bountiful community, subscribe now. There's a lot more content like this here, and every video is built to help you grow more with what you already have. See you in the next one.